Hi, welcome back to another update on my restoration of my 1986 Saab 900 16S Turbo Aero or SPG in the United States. Carrying on with the starter motor and clutch issues, I'll give you a quick walk around of where I'm up to. So first of all, the starter, battery, negative off first. This is obviously the body is negative earth, so negative off first, then take your positive off. You don't want to catch these spanners on the body, so always take your negative off as well. Down to where the starter motor was, because it's now off. To get to it, you've got your two bolts here and here. To get to those, you've got to remove this pain in the arse plastic flywheel pressure plate cover. It's held on with 4 bolts, and you've got to take all this pipe work off to get to these bolts. Now you can see on my flywheel where it's partly stripped, where it's all nice and new metal. I'm trying to source a new starter motor, but I can't tell you what a nightmare of a job it is getting a starter out of one of these. First of all, here you've got your EGR pipe, and round about here sits your EGR valve. Now that's held on with 2 10mm nuts under here, and I think it's a 21 and a 22 purchase on the valve to remove the actual line. The starter motor bracket, and I can't really show you because it's right down here. There, you might just be able to see. There's 2 12mm nuts that hold the back bracket on. Now you've got here, if you can see that either, you've got your radiator hose, and trying to get a socket on there is quite a bit of a pain in the arse, to be honest with you. So what I did was, to get the torque, I just double spannered a 12mm spanner, and I was able to crack the back bracket off. Then the 2 front bolts, again, this one towards the centre of the engine is not too bad to get to. This one here is a pain in the arse because the rear bolt, they're not on like the gripping washers or gripping nuts. They were spinning, and to actually get to the back bolt is almost impossible with a spanner this way. And what you've got to try and do is get a socket on the back, because the spanners won't fit, because on mine the fins on the actual casting of the starter motor won't let you get a ring spanner on, or the flat end of a spanner. So you've got to try and hold that nut, and then obviously they'll crack off. That's one of the nuts there. So this is I think this is a 14, and this is a 17. But just to get to these back nuts, you can see there's no, they just spin. Now I've seen videos where they come off straight away, but mine didn't, that's for sure. So you've got those 2 nuts. Obviously you take your positive lead off. Once you've disconnected your battery, you've got 2 leads, and you've got your yellow solenoid lead, your ignition lead, which goes on the forward facing spade connector, not the rear one. I think that's disused. You've got your EGR valve. There's a gasket on the bottom that goes into the throttle body, and when you're taking this cover off, and another quick tip that I always use, a bit of nail varnish and dot everything. See, that's got 4 dots. Sorry, there. I dot everything. That's got 4 dots. So I know where all my pipe work, that's got 3 dots. That's got 2 dots. That's got 1 dot. And then if you ever need to, you can scrape it off, get some acetate, that will remove it. But it just marks all your wires, and also photograph everything, because there's that much pipe work and vacuum leads on these engines. It's unbelievable. I'm no mechanic, and this obviously it's all a learning circle to me. One thing that was raised is the 1985s have a single fan. Mine's an 86 seems to have a double fan. I don't know whether Saab had issues with them running slightly warmer. They introduced a new secondary fan. I really don't know. But anyway, to get to your starter motor, you've got to obviously remove all your airbox, all this pipe work, your clutch cover, pain in the arse. Going back to the clutch, in the last video, I said that the clutch went bang and I had no pressure. And I was going to remove the internal knee plate, which to get to the master cylinder, which is located down here underneath the brake cylinder. I was going to check the linkage because obviously mine's right-hand drive, with it being a UK model, and you have the linkage that goes behind the dash. Now, luckily, I went to take the knee plate off, which is the two 10 mils either side, same place on that side, and the one behind the ashtray. And it still didn't seem to come off. But once I removed the center console inside the car, which is the single bolt, there's 4 Torx bolts and 2 at the bottom. The center console came out, and you can actually get to the master cylinder, so there's no need to remove this knee plate. I say that was all fine, but thank God I didn't have to remove it, because it doesn't. I think it's held in with more. Maybe if you want to put in the comments to help other people. I believe it was only the 3, but it's not. So that's basically it. I'm waiting on sourcing a starter motor for it, and then I can get it running, and then hopefully I can get the front end off, and then I can replace the flywheel, which is damaged. What I'm trying to source out is a cheap starter motor, so and use that flywheel if it chews it up. I haven't lost much, because the starter motor, new ones are, I think, they're about 160 quid, which I don't want to ruin a new one, so I'm trying to source a cheaper one. And if it gets damaged, like I say, it's so be it. So that's about it. So yeah, so the clutch actually works now. I don't know what was wrong with it. It was solid. It went bang. I bled it, and loads of air. The fluid is disgusting. So I'm going to completely redo all the fluids eventually. But I have got now, whether the slave cylinder was stuck or whether it was the pressure plate stuck, I really don't know. But I have got clutch, so at least I can now operate it. I'll rebleed it, and at least I'll be able to get the flywheel off. There was loads of air in it, absolutely loads of air. I don't know why, but maybe it's probably a seal. Maybe I'll have to do a rebuild kit on the slave cylinder. I don't know, but I say it's just to get the engine started before I take all the front end off, and I'll be able to get to the front of the engine, and obviously the horrendous amount of rust that I need to. Once the rad pack's out, I should be able to assess where I'm going with this. Right, I'll take you into Steptoe's yard and just for an update, which she's come in handy. What we're doing, Mini's not really done much on the Mini, to be honest with you. I need to do the clutch on that. I did rebuild the master cylinder, but for some reason it's leaking into the car. So at least I've got what I did. I bought off eBay. I bought it was at £11. It's a pressure bleeding kit. Comes with that silly little Chinese nozzle that doesn't fit anything, quarter BSP. But I just put one of my own on, which I think are £1 from Screwfix, quarter-inch BSP, male fitting. That sits in the top of your master cylinder with these all different types of brackets, and that keeps the master cylinder topped up. So going back to this is your EGR valve, and now that sits in front of the starter motor, which stops it from coming out, and two 10mm nuts, and I've remade a gasket down here, temporary. You can still get the gaskets. What I think it was this one here. You purchase one on the valve is 22, and I think the onto the actual pipe is a 21. Thank God I took it off, because this was absolutely blocked solid right the way through from there to there. I haven't vacuum tested it. I've just blown it, and the actual valve is moving, so I will get round to that. But from there to there was blocked, absolutely coked up solid. So I'm actually glad that came off. Now, with the starter motor, this is where I was up to. That's your 14, which is obviously behind your plastic cover. There's your 17. Now you can see on mine, I actually broke the casting here, trying to get a spanner on it, and it was just even there. It only just about goes on. You can't get to it because of this fin here. Now the problem with the starter motor is the pinion gear. You can see how rounded that is. The pinion gear's gone. Also, there's like there's a forked arm that comes from the solenoid that obviously operates the bendix or the thrust side of it, and there should be in here a Bakelite collar with two little clips that clip into the fork. Now that also was destroyed, and also what I noticed was, and I think this was the cause, if you can see on the end of the casting how cracked it is and how oval it is, the bushing has completely gone. I believe there was a brass bushing in there, so the actual there was so much movement. That's what I think has destroyed the flywheel. Combination of this, you can see where it's been grinding because of the actual play. Your planetary gears, the actual play in the end here. So that's what I've got to source. There's your bracket, your two 12 mils onto the engine body. That's your feed, your switch feed from your solenoid. That's the positive feed on there. So this is next, to be honest with you, sourcing a new starter or a cheap one while I get the engine running. Carrying on just a few more bits. I've got some more bits and pieces in this flow liner, which are coming up nicely. These are off the body kit, and you can probably see there that they are probably a really hard part to find, and they are coming up really nice. What I find with this type of evaporust flow liner, that type of rust remover, try and keep it about 50 to 60 degrees, because it works a lot faster. Now those clips fasten on here. They're off the front part of the body kit, and probably won't ever be able to source them. I don't know, but at least I'll be able to save them, etch primer them, and galvanise paint them. They should last another few more years. So that's the problem with the starter. Ovaled pinion gear completely had it. It's all rounded. So with all that movement, that's why it was throwing it back from the flywheel. Just a few more bits that I've been doing. I've been cleaning up the pipe work. This is the union that this goes onto the turbo inlet. You've got your charged air valve here. Now this one, again, the way it was routed was completely out of shape. These are just trying to bring it back into shape. But all these, apparently, there's a website, I wrote it down there, it's DO88, I think the .co.uk or .com. They do all these hoses and clips in silicon, which will last a hell of a lot longer. So I'm probably going to replace it, because you can see on this one, it's gone, and that's probably the heat from the turbo that's destroyed that. I'll do a temporary fix, but I am going to replace these with the D088 silicon ones eventually. This is all sort of cleaned up. Mass air filter, my air boxes I've cleaned up, and that's sort of where I am for the time being. And it's just this getting the engine cranked over, getting it started. So I'll leave it there. Hope some of that is of use to somebody. I say that on the later models, I don't think the EGR valve is in front of the starter motor like mine. You've got your throttle body up here. I don't think the EGR valve's there, and the starter motors are a real pain. You have to. What I did, I had to bang the end with a hammer to knock it out of the actual casting, the flywheel casting, and then tip it up on its back end and sort of maneuver it up and pull it out. So all those hoses and cables and whatnot, and say that a bit of the pain in the neck is that radiator pipe that runs up and sort of, with it being flexible, it pushes your socket off. So I'm leaving that there. I'll hopefully in the next few days I'll know whether I've sourced the starter motor or not, and then we'll go from there. It was just a short update, so look after yourself. Hope that was of some use to some people. Take care. See you soon.